Hello, everyone. Welcome back to part 2 of my limited documentary series on the Finno-Korean Hyperwar. Last time, Urho Kekkonen had just unleashed the Titans and destroyed much of the Atlantean Pan-Euro-Afro-American Federal Imperial Union. And currently, we are getting into specifics about certain regions. And then we should, hopefully, get into the specifics about the rise of the Great Empire of the Great Han. So, yeah, this is just a quick intro, and let's get back into the video. In the Americas, the Atlantean Pan-Euro-Afro-American Federal Imperial Union lost most of their control after the Titans were released, only having mere enclaves on the eastern seaboard. This collapse was caused not just by the Finno-Ugric and Black League War, but also by the rise and establishment of several American nations. And the list of the most important ones are, and are not limited to, the Kakistocracy of Ohio, the Kleptocracy of Detroit, the Canadian Goose Warlords, Kingdom of the Gnomes, the Celestial Kingdom of Desereta, Middle-earth, yes, Middle-earth existed, but they would later be destroyed, the Free Economic Zone of New Vegas, the Neo-Chicxulub Empire, Great Seven Cities of El Dorado, the Nassau Technate, and numerous pre-Korenic and pre-Atlantean tribes. Interestingly, despite them sharing the same enemy, even after the Atlantean Pan-Euro-American Federal Imperial Union still held control over the Americas, they immediately began to act like the Atlanteans were never there in the first place, and soon all the American nations would enter a period of warfare between them all, despite the ever-growing threat of the Atlanteans, even after the Finno-Ugric War. Despite this, and even though the Atlanteans could easily destroy the American nations, the ever-growing threat of Urho and his Black League allies, along with the use of the Titans against them, the Atlanteans didn't bother to finish off the Americas, but merely decided to reclaim the eastern seaboard and some Caribbean islands. Moving down to the global south in Africa, this is where I had lots of fun writing. Now, when we talk about the history of Africa during the conflict, there are two stages to the hyper-contemporary history of the continent. Stage 1. Overall, here's what happens. During the years of 54,723 BCE and 47,819 BCE, Atlantean control of Africa collapsed completely, and a new African regime had taken control, the Africus Imperium. The rise of the Africus Imperium, there was a surprisingly good amount of power and people behind them that allowed them, the Africus, to counter the power of the Atlantean Pan-Euro-Afro-American Federal Imperial Union, so they were able to quickly take over most of the poorly defended Atlantean holdings in the continent. The Africus Imperium even threatened to conquer Europe. A civil war soon emerged after the death of the first Africus Imperator. As the Imperium began to fall, there were a bunch of new nations that rose up in rebellion, such as the Kingdom of Madagascar, Bantu City, the Ethiopian Imperium, Egypt, and South Africa. Yes, the normal version of South Africa, but without the blatant corruption and apartheid. All these new nations fought to completely take over the African continent, launching the entire thing into the African Civil War, and the conflict lasted for thousands of years and only ended when the Emu Empire obliterated the African nations as they were slightly, and let me say that again, slightly annoyed with the fighting accidentally spilling into Australia. Let this be remembered forever, that the emus destroyed Africa because they were slightly annoyed. Anyway, with Africa completely destroyed, and with no central authority being held, the future would look uncertain and even would be exploited by other powers, like the Finno-Ugric people conquering northern Africa, and even the Atlanteans managing to retake the Nigerian and West African areas. Despite how dark the future for Africa was, however, this is not the end of them. We have merely passed to stage 1. Even though the continent had just been plunged into anarchy and was ripe for exploitation, this merely gave a nearby Arabian city-state known by all as Baka the perfect opportunity. An already powerful and strangely democratic place for the Middle East, they were determined to expand their ideals of tolerance and democracy via Malsi. And to spell Malsi, it is Malsi. Now, to those simpletons, it just sounds like Islam spelled backwards, but it isn't. Unlike that religion, this is just the Arabic version of American exceptionalism and paleo-conservative thought. Anyway, so in the year of 51,738 BCE, Baka declared itself no longer a city-state, but as the Empire of Shabaz, and immediately conquered most of the Arabian Peninsula, from the border of Turkey to Oman, but not the area where Iraq and Kurdistan sit. Iraq was inviolable as the Garden of Eden had managed to unite the once divided Mesopotamian city-states into the United Cities of Mesopotamia, and the UCM had formed a great defense of the north, allowing the Iranian tribes, the lands of Elam, and the kingdom of Nephilim to survive. And it's a great tale of how the selflessness of one allowed for the freedom of many. And the Shabazz Empire couldn't conquer Kurdistan because um, the Kurdistan, unlike like many modern political entities ruling over the Kurdish lands today, I treat people seeking their sovereignty with respect, even in fictional works. Anyway, with Shabazz owning a considerable amount of the Middle East, they headed southward to the Sinai Peninsula in order to enter Africa. But this was when they were stopped by the Pyramid Kingdom. Who is the Pyramid Kingdom? The Pyramid Kingdom. What is the Pyramid Kingdom? The Pyramid Kingdom. How did the Pyramid Kingdom come to be? The Pyramid Kingdom. Now, I know this may be a difficult concept to comprehend for some of you, but that's just who they are. They're the Pyramid Kingdom, a great nation ruling over where Egypt is, and they love pyramids. I mean, they literally build a pyramid once every single day. And it's probably why they have a massive housing crisis. Anyway, when the Empire Shabazz saw them, the rulers of Shabazz thought that the Pyramid Kingdom was a bunch of pushovers and didn't bother establishing diplomatic relations. However, this was an utterly disastrous move as the Pyramid Kingdom fought back and killed millions of Shabazz soldiers. Utterly defeated, the Empire of Shabazz thought they were going to be subjugated and decided to do with grace. So when they sent diplomats over, they immediately announced a surrender. But the Pyramid Kingdom actually forgave them, despite how even the Pyramid Kingdom lost some troops. And the reason for this was that the Pyramid Kingdom explained that they just needed to be left alone for a while. After all, they had a great prophecy to fulfill later on down this documentary series. Utterly confused and surprised and not getting what was going on at all, the Shabazz quickly forgave the Pyramid Kingdom and was allowed to continue into Africa peacefully, where, deciding this time to be a little bit wiser with how they engaged with new peoples, quickly used diplomacy to establish their complete and utter dominance over the chaotic land. So much so that the only independent peoples were Madagascar, the various Koshian tribes, and some enclaves of the arcane Limerian commune, a mysterious nation of magic users that we must never speak the name of unless we want to end the world. So with that, Africa had a chaotic but hopeful ending, as they now lived under a democracy of some kind that was stable and economically prosperous. Anyway, enough of those far more unique and invest-worthy nations. Let's get back to the main show. With Atlantean morale destroyed completely by the loss of Africa and the Americas, the Finno-Ugric and Blacklead armies stole much of the advanced technology of the Atlanteans by going into the ruins of their former settlements and arming their own troops with them. And these quick and steady Technological developments allowed their armies to lead the war into a massive escalation, so much so that the conflict ravaged much of Europe, killing like millions. Like, I think it was about 200 million to be more exact. Eventually, with Finno-Ugric and Urho's tactical superiority and Yazov's hate-fueled lust for genocide, they quickly took over the entire continent, leaving the Atlanteans with their homeland and some holdings over Portugal and Ireland. With Europe and northern Africa liberated, Urho Kekkonen and the other Finno-Ugric leaders decided that now was the time to put a break on the Atlantean conflict and exterminate the Black League, as they could become a potential threat after Urho would announce his grand plan. So they launched an attack on the Black League capital of Omsk, where they murdered like the entire city and only left one survivor, Dmitry Yazov. This started a bloody factional civil war between the Finnic Ugric people and the Black League. And it was so awful that the Black League was almost driven into extinction and were forced to run away into the far east of southern Siberia, and so they hid in large bunkers where they would slowly rebuild their strength again until they would get their revenge. A dream that the now heartbroken Dmitry Yazov, who saw Urho as a great ally and friend, wanted more than anything in the world. With the Finnic Ugric people, more specifically Urho Kekkonen himself, the supreme masters of their holdings, they advanced one more time in Atlantean Britain and took over Scotland. Scotland forever! And found the Trident nuclear defense system. Urho's immediate orders, he demanded that the nukes be used immediately. So, as to not disappoint him, the Finnic troops aimed the Trident defense system directly at the Atlantean homeland and launched hundreds of nukes in the year of 42,192 BCE. This nuclear attack wiped out most of the Atlantean continent along with its people off the face of the earth and letting the sea claim much of it. Nowadays, the only modern remains of Atlantis are São Miguel, but at the time, the Atlanteans only had the central mountains of Atlantis left. It was a horrible punishment for a misguided people, twice facing their own harm, first with the Titans and second with nukes. And it was an example of how the oppressed can easily become their oppressors, especially in methods. But at the time, this wasn't really thought about. Everyone in the former Atlantean territories cheered instead of feeling disgusted about what kind of people they had just become. With Urho Kekkonen's complete dominance assured, and with no more people able or willing to fight, the former liberator of Europe became the new tyrant as he initiated his grand plan and formed the Proto-Finnic Ugric Holy Roman Cognate, with Urho himself becoming Urho Kaleva Kekkonen I, Khanate of the Proto-Finnic Ugric Holy Roman Cognate. What a pompous title. Like, seriously, do you have the need to just use so many words in order to make an already kind of impressive position, like, to make it try to sound even more impressive? Because it really doesn't. Anyway, moving on, this empire, the Proto-Finnic Ugric Holy Roman Cognate, was formed in the year of 41,674 BCE, and they had restarted the technological age of the Atlanteans, this time taking it into new heights as they expanded their empire into space and took over the the northeastern and Canadian portions of the Americas in order to be better than their masters, and to have even more land than even the Atlanteans did. The Finno-Ugric Golden Age was an era where the Cognate experienced new heights of power and glory, controlling the largest known empire in the entire world. They were now colonizing the moon, made medical advancements where, for example, Khanate Urho Kaleva Kekkonen I ruled from the year 39,174 BCE till the end of the Finno-Korean Hyperwar as an indestructible cyborg, and had even created the Star Destroyer, huge space battleships that dominated the atmosphere. It was an exciting time to be a citizen of the Proto-Finnic Ugric Holy Roman Cognate. That's if you're Finno-Ugric. Okay, here's the thing. While it was an exciting time to live, you had to be Finnish in order to experience these things. If you're literally anybody else, if you're anybody else, your life probably became far more miserable under their direct rule or their tributary states, like the Vichy Khaganate, the Imperial Khaganate of Yakubia, the Khaganate of Magyaria, or the glorious Kazakh Khanate. Your life was worse than when the Atlanteans ruled it, because at least then the Atlanteans knew that they had to keep you somewhat functioning in order to let you work. Meanwhile, the Proto-Finnic or Holy Roman Khaganate did not really care about you. However, this was impossible now, and the only ways you can experience a good life if you lived in Europe were if you were to move to the Greek despot state of Olympia, which ruled over the Greek islands, or by moving to the fantastic, holy, great, and glorious Italian beating, epic, and amazing kingdom of Albania, which ruled over Italy and the Western Balkans. And yes, that was the Albanian kingdom's name, and I shall repeat it so then you know. The fantastic, holy, great, and glorious Italian beating, epic, and amazing kingdom of Albania. Anyway, until the year of 13,989 BCE, the Proto-Finnic Ugric Holy Roman Khaganate was convinced that, with the exception of the still feared Yazov and some parts of the still surviving Atlantean Empire, they were the dominant masters of the globe. They were the first hyperpower in the world, a feat that would soon be matched by someone else. But they didn't know at the time. So after years of preparation, the Finnic Ugric Holy Roman Khaganate moved to Asia to finish their conquest of the world, only to discover something that shocked their entire worldview and caused them to invent Lankero in order to make the pain of the discovery go away, which would later doom future generations to alcoholism, suppressing their other emotions, which is why Finnish people are so happy, I guess. I really don't know how to end this bit, so yeah. Hello. This is just a little end card message to say thank you for watching, and I just want to say that I know I've been a little late on this one. Well, I mean, last time it was like a week after the first upload, so yeah. Uh, I guess this isn't too late, but it's late for me because I've been like delaying for quite a bit because I've been having a bit of, motivational issues. So yeah, I've just been working a bit slower. But I just want to say that soon I will be getting back to a regular upload schedule of once a week. I just decided to make this video a bit shorter this time because I want to get to the rest of the series in their own separate episodes so that they could just be independent. But yeah. Oh, and I want to say thank you to everyone who's been watching. I know currently I've been, what is it? Oh yeah, I've had about 30, not 30, no, 34 views in total for both of my trailer video and the first part one of the docu series. And I know that may not seem like much to anybody, but like to me that's massive. That's I used to own a podcast that I've only received 43 like listens within 5 months. That and I'm getting 34 views within 2 weeks. So that's fantastic for me. So thank you again. And um, yeah, part three will be coming out soon, and it will be. I'll try to make it a bit longer, but I think I'll just stick to like maybe 20 minutes or something around that time. So yeah, have a nice day. Thank you for listening.